So keep it in mind, hydrocarbons, saturated hydrocarbons means, once again I'm saying, all the carbon atoms, they must have what bonds? Everybody? All the carbon atoms are joined together only with a single covalent bond. Then that is called it as a saturated hydrocarbons. Please remember, we will consider saturated means every carbon atom in the carbon atom in the compound must have a single bond. Please note it that. Clear everyone? So if you take the examples, the smallest hydrocarbon is methane. Smallest hydrocarbon is methane. If you take ethane, you can take propane, you can take butane. These all are called it as a saturated hydrocarbons. Okay. So unsaturated hydrocarbons. Unsaturated hydrocarbons means, you can remember. So we can say two things. One is, at least you can see, at least two carbon atoms joined together by double bond, means one double bond or triple bond. That is what you have to remember. Either at least one double bond or at least one triple bond. We used to call it as a unsaturated hydrocarbons. Do you understand, everyone? Saturated hydrocarbons means completely single covalent bond. Unsaturated hydrocarbons means at least two carbons have double bond or at least two carbons have triple bond. That is what you have to remember. Are you clear, everyone? Please respond, Amma. Everyone, anybody having any doubt, you can ask me. Understand, Ra? Yes, please. Hurry. Yes. Now, saturated hydrocarbons, we can call it as a alkanes. Note it, everybody. Saturated hydrocarbons, we can call it as a alkanes. Unsaturated hydrocarbons, we are used to call it as a two things. Two examples. If it is the double bond, we used to call it as a alkenes. And if it is a triple bond, we used to call it as a alkynes. So this is what is the examples. Saturated hydrocarbons are alkenes. Unsaturated hydrocarbons are alkenes and alkynes. Again, I am saying anes, enes, and wines. So these are the three. Anes is always saturated hydrocarbons. Enes and wines are unsaturated hydrocarbons. Okay, everybody. So Anes means every carbon must be having a single bond. Please remember, each carbon in a compound has to connected with a single bond. Again and again, I'm saying only purpose is you need to know everything. Whatever the carbon is present, one carbon or two carbon or three carbon, every carbon has to be completely connected. All the carbon atoms are joined together with a single covalent bond is anes, alkanes. Enes means at least one double bond, at least one double bond, at least, not all. Here all the carbons. Here at least one carbon, two carbons. Here also at least one triple bond. That is what we used to call it as a wines. So please note it. Are you clear, everyone? Do you all understand what I'm saying? Everybody? Okay. So now let us comes to the saturated hydrocarbons. So what is another name of saturated hydrocarbons, Mr. Kaushik? Saturated hydrocarbons, please.
Alkanes, sir.
Very good. So saturated hydrocarbons. All of you keep adding. Saturated hydrocarbons, we used to call it as a what? All of you? Alkanes. Anes. Anes means everything. The name of the saturated hydrocarbons, any kind of carbon ends with a ane. If it is ends with a ane, please remember it is the alkane. It is the saturated hydrocarbon. Saturated hydrocarbon. So examples is alkanes. And remember, if n is equals to 1, n is equals to 1 means number of carbon atoms are 1. The smallest possible hydrocarbon is actually methane. So methane is the simplest and smallest saturated hydrocarbon. So if I take it, everybody, so formula is so like this. So this is the structure of methane. So you see that how many carbons are there, everybody? How many carbons are there? Single
One.
there, and every carbon is connected with only single bond. How many single bonds? 4 CH single bonds. How many, everybody? 4 CH single bonds. So that is what is the smallest and simplest saturated hydrocarbon is alkane. That is what methane. Methane is the simplest and smallest hydrocarbon. And there is a specialty for methane. No methane and methane will come. Only yen mattada. This is the only meth is existed yen. No yin and wine will be present. Methane and methane will never be existed. Only what is existed? Methane alone is existed. So why it is not existed, we'll discuss later. So now you remember, what is the first saturated hydrocarbon? Simplest saturated hydrocarbon, everybody? Methane. Okay. Now when n is equals to 1, means number of carbons 1. Like n is equals to 2, n is equals to 3, n is equals to 4, n is equals to n. You can take the general formula for saturated hydrocarbons is, remember, CnH2n plus 2. So this is the general formula of saturated hydrocarbons. I need my classwork, what I have sent you, PDF last day before yesterday, I think. That PDF by tomorrow offline class. Everybody must have that classwork in our hands. You can see that more than your book, everything I have written the general formulas, which will make you very easy in the exam. Many new things I have mentioned in the classwork. Everybody need to learn. Everybody must have that printout. Clear? But it is not complete notes. 25 pages it is there. Everybody have it in our hands by tomorrow. Okay. So what is the general formula, everybody, of alkanes? What is the general formula, everybody? General formula of alkane. What is that? CnH2n plus 2. Write it, everybody. So now, n is equals to 1. If you substitute, what will happen? C1H2 into 1 plus 2, which is equals to C1H2 ones are 2, 2 plus 2. How much amount? 2 plus 2, everybody?
CH-4.
CH4. That is the simplest possible hydrocarbon, which we used to call it as a, what is the name of it, everybody?
Methane.
Methane. Yen. Saturated hydrocarbons ends with what, everyone? Saturated hydrocarbons
Yin
ends
or
with
Y.
yen. Okay, next. N is equals to 2 means C2H2, okay, into 2 plus 2. So which is equals to what, everybody? C2H4 plus 2, which is equals to C2H6, which is equals to, is to say, ethane. Methane, ethane. What is that? Ethane. Okay. Now structure, how to draw. Carbon, how many carbons are there? Mr. Rohit, Pugal, how many carbons are there? Ethane. Two
sir.
carbons are there. Each carbon has to satisfy how many bonds? Everybody? Each carbon
One
has
bond.
to satisfy how many bonds?
Four.
One
4
bond.
bonds. Okay. Already one bond is satisfied and it is saturated. All must be what? Single bonds are double bond or triple bond are? Only single bonds. Here 3 plus 3 over. So totally 2 carbons and 6 hydrogens. C2H6. Ethane. What is this, everyone? Ethane, it is the structure. Any doubt, anybody can ask me. Next, if N is equals to 3, everybody. So what is the formula? N is equals to 3. Everyone, what will happen? C3H3, yeah, sorry, H2 into 3 plus 2. Am I right, everybody? CnH2n plus 2. So what is the formula? C3H2, 3s are 6, 6 plus 2, which is equals to C3, everybody. C3, C3H8. C3H8, which is call it as a propane. Propane. Okay, propane. So structure, evala carbons, 3 carbons. Structures only heart of this chapter. Structures purile. Structures, if you are not able to draw, no use of studying this chapter at all. So carbon, 3 carbons. First finish the carbons. My best way to make you draw the structures easier always, try to draw the carbons first. Hydrogens is secondary. So now we all know each carbon has to satisfy how many bonds? Everybody, 4 bonds. Clear? Now middle carbon, you check it. Already how many bonds it is satisfied? Everyone, 2 bonds it satisfied. Then only it will get remaining 2 bonds. Last carbon, only 1 bond satisfied. So how many bonds will come? Everybody, 3 bonds will come. So it has to satisfy, every carbon has to satisfy how many bonds, guys? Every carbon has to satisfy how many bonds? 4 bonds. Yeah? No confusion at all. Your mind has to remember that every carbon has to satisfy 4 covalency. That is what? Tetra covalency. If it is satisfied, your answer is right. And remember, already we studied, I think I not taught you. Yeah, I have taught you already. If it is single line is making, it is representing that 1 pair of electrons. Of course, we studied, I think, already. So now, 2 lines are representing, it is indicating that 2 pairs of electrons sharing. If it is indicating 3 lines, it is indicating that 3 pairs of electrons are sharing. Please remember, single line indicating how many electrons, everybody? How many electrons? 2 electrons. Okay, 1 pair of electron. So why I am saying you this? Now we are going to draw electron dot structure of this one. All the compounds. Electron dot structure, or also we can say Lewis dot structure. Lewis dot structure. Okay. So what is this electron or Lewis dot structure? All of you see, very simple. What is the 3 compounds example we studied? CH-4, C2H6, C3H8. If you want C4H10, I will write C5H12, C6H14, C7H16, C8H18, C9H20. So nothing is there, guys. Saturated hydrocarbons. Check it, everybody. From one to another one. What is the number of carbons increases? How many number of carbons increases? Methane to ethane. How many carbons
CH2.
increases? 1 carbon increases. How many hydrogens increases? Everybody. 1 carbon, 2 hydrogens. So from one compound to another compound, one compound to another compound, you can check it, everybody. How much is varying? Everyone? Just CH2 is increasing. CH2, 1 carbon, 2 hydrogen. 1 carbon, 2 hydrogen. 1 carbon, 2 hydrogen. That's all it is. That is only saturated hydrocarbons. What is the smallest saturated hydrocarbon? Everybody? What is the smallest saturated hydrocarbon? Everybody? Methane. Remember, no other compounds will be having the meth. The one and only compounds which is smallest, where N is equals to 1, is methane. That is also alkanes only it will possible. No other it is possible. Now, electron dot structure. So what is the electron dot structure for carbon? So check it, everybody. Carbon, how many, guys? CH-4. Am I right or wrong? Methane structure is what? This is what is called it as a structure of methane. Now you can see the electron dot structure is very simple. Write it C, 1 hydrogen, 2 hydrogens, 3 hydrogens, and 4 hydrogens. So I said single line means how many electrons? Single line means how many electrons? Everybody. Pair of electrons. That's all. If you replace each bond, this is indicating bond. So one bond indicating one pair of electrons. Just if I replace it, that's all. This is the electron dot structure of methane. Draw everybody. Next. Methane after what is there, everybody? Ethane. Understanding? So ethane, what is the formula? C2. Ethane formula C2H6. So first carbon, and next hydrogen, and hydrogen. Just put the bonds. Pair of electrons. Single bond, single pair of electrons. That's all. It is not necessary to keep it always. Now you can see. So this is what is the electron dot structure of ethane. So if you take propane, so propane, what is the formula, everybody? C3H8. C3H8. So 3 carbons, C. So carbon, single bond, carbon, single bond. Now this carbon, 3 hydrogens, because how many bonds it has to satisfy? 3 bonds. This carbon already 2 bonds over, 2 more remaining bonds. This carbon 3 bonds over. Then you can put each bond is replacing with 2 dots. That is what? Pair of electrons over. Clear, everybody? Always keep it in mind. Each carbon has to satisfy how many bonds, everybody? Each carbon has to satisfy how many bonds? 4 bonds. Then your answer is correct. You need to remember always that is only in our mind. Always each carbon has to satisfy 4 bonds. If it is satisfy 4 bonds, your answer is right. That's all. So today's class, you remember only saturated hydrocarbons. What is the general formula of saturated hydrocarbons, everybody?
CnH2n.
Saturated hydrocarbons. CnH2n plus 2. Please remember CnH2n plus 2. Okay. Number of hydrogen atoms will gives you number of hydrogen atoms will gives you 2n plus 2. Okay. If n is equals to 2, then you will get number of hydrogen 2 into 2 plus 2, which is equals to 6 over. Clear, everybody? Hurry. So always 2n plus 2 will give you the number of hydrogen atoms. And total general formula. What is the general formula, everybody? CnH2n plus 2. CnH2n plus 2. General formulas are very important. Okay. So till here you learn. Then from here we'll continue in the tomorrow's class. Then tomorrow we'll see unsaturated hydrocarbons, as it is tomorrow leave. Mostly we can finish unsaturated hydrocarbons. If it is time permits, even 10-15 minutes extra also I can take. Alkenes, alkynes, and what is alkyl groups. Next one, cyclic hydrocarbons. Up to that, at least representation of hydrocarbons. This all the things we'll finish it in the tomorrow's class. Then after that, Sunday we'll start nomenclature of hydrocarbons. From there, it will be more and more deeper. Very important. So please learn till here. Anybody having any doubt, you can ask me, or else you can leave from the meeting. Again, I'm saying you, saturated means carbon single bond. Unsaturated means carbon at least one double bond or at least one triple bond. That is you have to remember. Okay. Based upon this, once tomorrow's class is over, one important question I want to show you from the last year's paper. That is the question will decide what is our, how much you need to focus on this chapter. Okay. How much confuses from this chapter, you can see that. Okay. Thank you, everybody. We'll meet in tomorrow's class. Thank you all.